Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm revisiting 5D chess with multiverse time travel, which was on the channel, I don't know, not quite a year ago? Did it come out in like June or something? Believe it or not, these are still the the most watched videos on my channel every month. I think that just like coming out when the game came out got them helped by the algorithm, and they're like, I got in some so-called clickbait by just like using names of the game's puzzles and setups as my video titles, so people search for them and they find my videos. Very sneaky, right? But also, like, you know, another reason to revisit this is that I've been playing like real chess, and I thought it would be interesting to see how much my perspective on things has changed. I'm still bad at real chess, but not as bad. And also, as far as I can, like, I'm sure there are people out there who are good at 5D chess, but of the people who publish YouTube videos of chess, they're either like already good at chess and don't really want to learn this wacky new thing, or they're just like completely clueless, which is a large percent of YouTubers. Nothing wrong with that, but they don't want to invest any time in understanding the rules. Which I feel like I get it. Like, I understand what the consequences of being 5D are, and I still like haven't really tried playing any people. I don't want to figure out this lobby system. Like, yeah, you can say public match and there's all these things, but like they're all like no clock and they're private matches. Like, I don't know. I don't want to figure this out. So instead I just play against computer and I win, like, I would say every time, except in my last game I did actually get checkmated, which was somewhat embarrassing. So a refresher is that this, if you are not familiar with 5D chess, this is like ordinary chess, except for one enormous difference, which is that in addition to the 2 dimensions of play on the board here, there's also like forward and backwards in time is a dimension, and up and down in timeline is a dimension. So if you, in fact, we'll actually abort this match here, forfeit game. I'll show you a puzzle to make sure it's clear. Like, I don't know, rook tactics, mate in 2, sure. So now you can see this is the current board over here, and this is the past that led to this board. And so in ordinary chess, this is a mate in 1, checkmate. Where's the king gonna go, right? But not in 5D chess. He says, I know. I'll go back to the past, right? Kings can move 1 step in any number of dimensions. Not 0, but 1 to n. And so he goes back and visits this board again, staying in place. No, I guess he also moves down towards my back rank as well. And so now he's here. He's visiting this board and creating a new forking timeline off of this one. History is immutable, so when you revisit a square, you create a new timeline. And the goal of the game is basically to capture any one king. And so this is a simple checkmate here. Now, even if he moves 1 king into the past, the other one is still in check, right? We have a king pinned to another king, and so this solves the puzzle. And if you say, well, okay, what if he went into the past again? It'll show you, yes, but then you could take this king. So that's kind of nice that it shows you this stuff. And this, I guess we should also look at, that was kind of actually an unusual way to checkmate in this game. This is a much more common way to checkmate, is to not move into the past and then checkmate the king there, but to, from the present, threaten to checkmate a past king, or to capture a past king. Why is this checkmate? The king's not even in check. Well, what if he goes here? Then we travel, the rook moves in 1 dimension. In this case, we choose backwards in time, staying the same in timeline, rank, and file. And he goes through this square, and this square, and this square, and captures this king. We don't go through black boards, because those are when it's black's move. We go back 1 full move at a time. So only through white boards when you're white. So there you go, that's the game. And it makes a huge difference in how you should play. A lot of my games with the computer, we end up never actually, or I anyway, end up never actually traveling through time, and sometimes the computer doesn't either. But I get some checkmate that's like, oh, I'm attacking you in the past, GG. And also, opening theory is drastically different. I am very much in normal chess a proponent of, e4. It's the only opening move I've literally ever played as white. But in 5D, like, king safety is so important. It is the most important thing by a mile. And so I try to get castled as fast as I can without exposing, without opening up any pawn lines to my king. And so I usually open like this, and the computer usually, but not always, responds with D5, threatening to take the knight, and I'm like, that's fine. I like my bishop anyway, and this lets me develop usefully, and then I castle. And we've given up the center, but like, who cares? King safety is just too much, too important. So I guess we could talk about how the other pieces move. We saw kings and rooks. Everything moves basically the same. Like, you apply the same abstract principle to figure out how they should move by just, instead of viewing a two-dimensional board, you imagine a four-dimensional board, four-dimensional space, I guess. And the pieces obey the same rules extrapolated there. For example, it's like a bishop moves in exactly 2 dimensions, any number of spaces. So on one board, it's like this, but you could also move, for example, up in rank and backwards in time. So we could get all the way back to the initial board state and grab this pawn if we wanted, right? I'm not going to do that, but that's a legal move. We would create a new board state where, a new timeline where I have a bishop here instead of black having a pawn there. The downside of this is twofold. First of all, well, 3 really. I've lost a bishop on this board, and I've lost a tempo on this board. But I've also spent a resource, which is a timeline. If you create a lot more timelines than your opponent, they're allowed to ignore some of your timelines. Whereas if you're close on timelines, you can kind of require your opponent to move on those past boards. We'll talk more about that maybe if it comes up. So anyway, now that I'm castled, I don't mind opening up, trying to get some center. This is defended by the queen, so that's fine. And then the computer just makes like totally bonkers moves. This queen move is, I don't understand it at all. A bishop here would be kind of cool if I could support it, but it's not really obvious how to do that. I can just develop a knight, attack this pawn, now that there's no longer a queen on it. Okay, defended, fine. Get out my other bishop onto this nice diagonal. X-ray the queen. Sure. There is actually a slight vulnerability of this move, I guess. Which is that if my opponent takes my queen, my bishop, I'll have to capture like this, exposing my king. Which I don't really want to do. And it doesn't look at the moment like there's any easy way for them to do that. Right? Maybe they could like push this pawn attacking the bishop, but then I could like grab the pawn, for example, or grab the pawn this way and it would be fine. However, I do have to worry about one other avenue of attack here, which is this knight in the future. He might choose to go towards, let's say, down 2 ranks towards me and backwards 1 board in time. So 2 turns from now, a copy of this knight might arrive here and snip this bishop. And, you know, that's a big investment for my opponent to spend an entire timeline just on trading pieces. But it opens up this, which, if they could get a queen onto the G file, would be very troubling. Right now there's no obvious way to get a queen here, so it could be okay. But I don't necessarily want to make that move when there's no real compelling reason to do so. The computer will eventually just make some blunder and then I'll win, so why mess around, right? Let's just threaten to get rid of this knight, actually, because then I can try to get my queen onto G4, battery with the bishop. The knight doesn't have anywhere very great to go after this, I don't think. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just trade knights. You get a pawn here, but I don't care that much. And that gives me an excuse to support my d-pawn, open up my queen's eyes to g4. Seems great. Yep. No obvious weaknesses. My bishop is unsupported. That's a point, I guess. My bishop is unsupported and can be attacked, and this is locking him in, right? So maybe that's not so great. I can just bring my bishop all the way back here. Okay, fine. Oh yeah, that is a problem, huh? But it's not, right? I suspect my opponent will find this knight more of a liability than an asset, because that pawn was blocking my queen's view of d7, and now it's not anymore. So I want to move the bishop and attack the knight. I'm not sure it matters where I go, but I guess this is better, eyeing up the rook or something. I don't want this pawn actually getting to e3 now that I look at it, so this is maybe better. They're going to have to support the knight with a pawn to avoid disaster. But they didn't do that. Oh, okay, that works too, I guess. That's cute. Right, because now it's interfering with the bishop's defense of this square. So I think I want to get a rook behind. Just move the queen up this way. I can go actually all the way up here and attack this pawn, I guess. It also piles up on the knight, who's defended only once by a pawn. This seems good. I don't see any immediate problems my queen will have here. If she's attacked with a pawn, she can just back up and grab this. Queen here, I guess, maybe would be a way for my opponent to get rid of a threat. But then I pick this up and attack the rook. Oh, well, that's checkmate. Yeah, not such a great move, huh? So this is actually rather boring. It's ordinary checkmate. But it's also attacking this king here. If we say, suppose that that black moves a rook or something. We're attacking this queen in the present, king in the present, but also this king in the past. And so that makes it even more forceful. Even if, let's suppose, the king says, aha, I know what to do. I'll run away. Well, okay, first of all, I guess anywhere he runs, he's just captured by this queen. But supposing he could get away, this king would still be stuck. So, I don't know, games with the computer are a little bit bleh on the ordinary board, so let's try Timeline Invasion. Which, all opening theory is thrown out the window. Even it is on an ordinary board too, but this creates asymmetries immediately, and the kind of miniature aspect, I don't know. I have less of an idea of what to do on boards like this, because there's no queens, basically, and the computer is pretty bad with queens. I remember when I was learning, I was like, I gotta trade queens right away, because the computer can spot mates in one that I can't. But I think those were all basically just a result of being too open in the center, and now I can develop mates in two that the computer doesn't even know are coming with a queen. So having them gone is kind of nice. Anyway, we have to make a move on every board where it's our move. All at once. I have no idea what the opening theory is here. Like, I could develop a knight, but this seems good, right? We'll be able to attack one of these pawns, for sure. And I guess we could try to stop them doing the same, like so. Sure. So my opponent's first move was to move a bishop forward a timeline and forward a rank, huh? Well, that defends all the pawns. That's kind of cute. Huh. I mean, I think we just attack the bishop, though. And this lets me develop my bishop. And what do I do on this board? I don't know, something quiet. Try to do as little as possible here. Maybe just another pawn move. Well, obviously another pawn move, but... Ah, a counterattack against my knight. How cool is that? Do you get to queen if you get to the other side of this board, though? I think you do. So this would be kind of a... It's not really a counterattack, because they can't actually take the knight I'm threatening to promote. Ooh, or they're pushing by 2. I could capture here, but that lets them do this, which I hate. So I'm just going to let this pawn chill and make another quiet pawn move, I think. Yeah, and they take the knight. I guess it does... So this stops me from queening, and also, like, now my knight isn't attacking any pawns anymore, right? My first thought was, what if I go here? Then I would be threatening to go, say, back in time by 2 and up 1 board to attack this king, I guess? Problem with that is, suppose I make some dummy move, they can just bring this king over and grab my knight. So that doesn't work. However, I think that knight here does work. There's no pieces that can reach this. And so their only recourse, and we are still attacking the very same king. We're attacking... I guess you could just move the king, huh? Because to attack this king, we have to go up 2 files and up 1 timeline. So that means we can't go back in time. We'll have to be attacking the present king with this knight. So they can just move it. But what that means is I have a moment on this board where they have to move the king. And I can do something else to take advantage of the king being in check. That seems promising. And so I was thinking maybe something like this, threatening to take this pawn, but I don't think that really does anything. What if instead I just grab this pawn? Threatening to pick up another here. Or trade this off, and then have a pretty solid structure, I think. Yeah, so they move the king. And now the king, I guess, is attacking my knight, it must be said. But I can go here and be attacking the king again? Are we windmilling him on 2 boards? Right, because this king, we're threatening to move up 2 ranks and up a timeline and attack him again. So I think I can just, like, push the pawn. Oh yeah, and that stops the king from moving on this board. Oh, you got me! Oh, I can't believe this shit. So, the king, I thought, would have to move here. But we didn't put him in check on this board, which means he was free to make some other move on this board going back in time, as long as he didn't move on this board, allowing my knight to move and grab the king. If black ever has to make a move on this board, I'll instantly win the game, because my knight will go pick up this king. But black had a different idea of sending this bishop back in time to arrive here, where... How is this? Oh. This pawn is my weak spot? That I don't have a pawn here? Is that right? Yeah. He's threatening to... Say I make some random move. Move down in timeline and left in file to reach this king. Yikes. So one thing I'm not very good at is predicting, like, is the ramifications of where a new timeline will arrive. I don't know. And also just like, I didn't really see this coming at all. If I had instead captured this pawn, it would be double check, right? This king would be in check twice and would have to move somewhere. And then I could capture the rook and promote and probably find something useful to do on this board that would make that good for me. Because you would move the king presumably to like here, I guess, right? If my pawn were... Oh, I can't put him in double check, can I? Yeah, this pawn could have captured like here, yeah. So maybe the king actually just would have picked up the pawn now that I look at it. Because it would have been undefended. Not sure. Okay, well that's cool. Good work, computer. You got me. Let's try another on the same board. Black this time. Again, develops the bishop early. I mean, it makes a certain amount of sense, I guess. You don't really want to make any moves with these pawns. They just allow your opponent to break things up here. Oh, also, like, what's the defeat condition? If you don't have any kings here, how can you be checkmated? If your opponent can capture one of your kings, or if on a board where it's your turn, you can't make a move, you lose. So stalemate is also defeat, but pretty rare. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, actually. I never really thought about using this board as a way to develop pieces. Like, I could put the bishop here. But I guess then this pawn development looks pretty unpleasant for me. Why don't I just chase away the bishop? And I guess these pawns are more important to hang on to because of the... This pawn specifically, I guess, because that's where the bishop can get to easily. So maybe try not to move this one to avoid a repeat of last game's problem. Giving up the bishop. Threatening a capture, I guess, here, though, to take the rook. I see, so it's not really giving up the bishop, is it? It is giving up this pawn if I want it. I'm happy enough to take the pawn. Ugh, I don't want to make any moves on this board. But okay, I'll trade pawns. You got me. You get your knight out. Oh, I don't know, that's so bad. What if this? Maybe? I don't know. Okay. Pushing this pawn threatens to capture here, which is check, but I don't really care. I'll take here, renewing the threat on the bishop. He really should do something at some point. On the other hand, I haven't used any of my pieces, so there's that. I don't know why I'm emphasizing light squares so much here. The opponent has a dark square bishop, so he can just like cut through everything here. But I think it's kind of hard for him to actually get to my king still. I don't know. So... we're pretty close to the same kind of trick my opponent came up with last game, aren't we? Putting my bishop here in the past. And getting at this king, I think. Because I still have my pawn here, but my opponent's pawn here has been gone for a while. they're threatening this, which is check, I guess. So I think I'll just push that pawn. And I don't need this guy for anything, really. Okay, so now my thought was, can't I just do what my opponent did last game? Take here. What is the position after that happens? Yeah. This is, like, gonna be checkmate, right? Unless my opponent can capture it, which I don't think they can. We're threatening to move from this, which will be my blackboard, to the right in file and up in timeline to get to this king. And I think that's game over, right? Yeah. There you go. So we learned a cool trick from the opponent, and then we applied it in the next game. What more could you ask for? Okay. Shall we do one more on some weird... What's the simple set? I was gonna play small. 5x5, I think. Yeah. Sure. I don't know. Here? I think it is still legal to castle, by the way. It should be. Okay, I really don't know any opening theory, but this square sure is heavily defended by all players. I don't really want to push here because of bishop coming here, but I guess, like, what's the problem? I just take it, right? Well, the problem is knight here takes and then bishop here, right? So maybe let's not do that. Just this? Sure. I don't want to open my king up like that. Let's go here. Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, king takes. Should be okay. No, it's horrible. Because a bishop here is starting to threaten my king in the past soon. I don't like this. What about pawn here? It kind of forces a queen trade, right? Well, not really. One of us has to initiate the queen trade, yes. They don't have to, but I will soon. And then I can, like, I don't know, do something. Let's see how this goes. This looks pretty scary, but I want to see what happens. Yeah. So they're sacking the queen. It's not clear to me that this is justified. Because it has so many other pieces guarding this square. I think I'll take with the bishop, so I can get my knight here if retakes. Or here, rather, and then here, which is nice. Or I could take with queen, threatening queen here. Yes, that's pretty good. Queen here would be... yeah, that would be checkmate. Oh, she's pinned. How sneaky. Oh, and this doesn't work. Huh. I didn't see that coming. Right, they have the knight here as well. Okay, let's look for moves into the past that might be interesting. I think what I was doing on... no, I can't make any moves into the past because I didn't check on all the recent moves. If I travel back onto one of those boards, my king would just be captured. So I think let's bring the rook up. Adding a defender here. And also threatening to move quite far into the past? No, because if I did, like say all the way back here, they would just capture my king on this board, see? Okay, so I like this knight move. Now they're finally out of checks. But there are still some serious threats. Like, a knight getting too near the king is pretty scary. He could make moves like, I don't know, suppose I did nothing much. He could make a move like coming here, and that would be like checkmate, actually. Because he'd be threatening to move 2 files to the left and 1 back in time and attack this king. So I can't allow this knight to get here. Or if he does get there, I have to be able to capture him. I guess the best thing to do is just check the king so that that move can't be played. And I start making my own threats with this knight. I guess. And the problem is, like, yeah, I fork the king and the rook, but if I take the rook, I lose the game. So, not so great. I wonder if I can play rook here, rook up, and, like, make them regret taking my knight, if that's what they do. Like, what am I going to do about this knight? He's just horrible. I can, like, capture him back in time, if I wanted. Well, I'd have to wait a bit with this knight. But this knight in the present would still be here, threatening this. Threatening a, no, c1. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this. I feel like I'm just dead. Maybe sending the knight back in time, like here, is something? I don't think it is, though. Also, I'm in check on that board, so no. I can't do anything about this knight. I can't move the king to do anything about it. I need to get a piece there able to deflect that. But I can't. I mean, I guess, okay, king here. Then if the knight goes back in time, my king can chase him back in time. No. Because that would arrive on a different copy of the board. He would still be there. I mean, I can make another check, but the king just captures my knight, right? Or my pawn. Not the pawn, actually. Because then this knight would be threatening to checkmate him in the past. So this more or less forces king takes knight. Is that any advantage? Or, I mean, I guess king b4. But I think that's pretty bad. The problem is after king takes knight, like, what am I going to do? Promote to another knight? Just like, they just take it with the rook, right? And this knight is unstoppable. I can't do anything about him. I could deliver a check here, I guess. I was looking at something like that before. I think it's my best shot. Because I have follow-up checks that could maybe do something about this knight. Right, something like this. But I don't think it really amounts to anything. Aha! I pin the knight. Okay, not dead. Still in bad shape, because I'm going to have to trade my rook for a knight. But this is a knight that was threatening to checkmate me, so that seems like a good deal. Push? The knight's pinned after all. Actually, you know what? King up, right? Now, the knight no longer really has the threat of going here to attack a passed king, because there won't be a passed king there anymore. He does have the threat of moving two boards back in time to this square. But my king hasn't been here long enough for that to be a checkmate. So I think I have a moment to breathe if I want. I think I can just push this. If they take it, I grab the knight for free. Okay. Well, what now? I'd like to work on this pawn, right? He's my passer. But I don't know if just pushing him really accomplishes anything. Seems like my rook has things tied down pretty well. Maybe this and then king up? Maybe king up first, actually. Yeah, where's this rook gonna go? The back rank, I suppose. Oh no! My king is overloaded. He's not defending that pawn. Oh, how sad. If I take here, right, I drop my own rook and then the game. This is a game and a half, huh? I made a big blunder here that I didn't notice. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have made it. Actually, although, what was I supposed to do? Rook over here, I guess. Kind of a problem because then you can't push the pawn. Rook to the back rank also would have worked, I suppose. Or up here. Yeah, maybe rook up to trade rooks. Okay. Well, this doesn't... it does work. We're forking the rook and the pawn, right? Sure. Oh, I didn't even think about that. The importance of getting to king's starting square. Yeah, look at that. There's been no pieces here for ages. He just goes back in time till he finds a king and ices him. All right. Well, if I'd realized the importance of that, maybe I could have been sending my... I was just so focused on like one ordinary chess that I was like trying to promote a pawn. Who cares? Just checkmate. This square, if you ever land a rook there, it's game over. Because there hasn't been a piece there ever since the king left. Oh, or here! This square has been empty but for kings. So, like, I missed mate in 1, right? No, I didn't actually have a rook who could get there, did I? Here. Ah, no, there was a knight guarding the square at the time. I see. So, after capturing the knight, I could have taken the rook to the back rank. Threatened both of these squares. The rook can't guard them both, so he checks me, I pick him up, and then I checkmate. But as soon as I moved my king up, I think that was when I was dead. I don't think I can do anything about checkmate here. Wait, what? I could have traded rooks. Or maybe done some time traveling shenanigans of some kind? I'm not sure. Like, on this board, there's not any good time travel to do. The rook can't time travel at all. If he goes into the past, he just bumps into himself. The king could, but that doesn't seem very productive. Just means that on this board, black would move and checkmate me, so... Okay, well, instructive ways to lose for sure. Hope you guys enjoyed this foray back into 5D chess. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.